Welcome back to Doing the Math. My name is Tracy Fox, and I'm a teacher development specialist. This is HISD TV at Home. For today's lesson, we are going to model two-digit subtraction concretely using base 10 models, pictorial models, place value, and or number lines. Before we get started today, there are a few things that I need you to get from around your house. The first thing I need you to get is something to write on. So a notebook, some loose leaf paper would be great. You also need something to write with. And that could be anything from a colored pencil or a regular pencil, a marker, or even an ink pen. So let's review today our place value blocks, our vocabulary, and we're going to review how to subtract two-digit numbers with no regrouping using a place value chart. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So as you can see, we have some concrete manipulatives here. These are our base 10 blocks. We have a unit, a long, and a flat. When we deal with our manipulatives, that's exactly what they are. They are manipulatives until I provide them a value. So for today, let's go ahead and assign our values and how to draw them. Okay, so we've got our concrete representations. Now, how do we draw these pictorially? Well, for our unit, we are just going to simply use a dot. And that dot will represent a value of 1. We know that in our ones position, that once we hit the value of 10, that we move a place value position to the left, which is our tens place value. In our tens place value, we use the long to represent groups of 10. So pictorially, I will represent this just using a line. And then I know that the value, once again, is 10. But I also know that this value represents 10 groups of 1. So when I get 10 units together, that is the same as or equivalent to 1 long. And now that we have looked at the longs, let's go ahead and look at our flats. Our flats can be represented using a square. So I can just draw a square to represent my flats. And the value for my flat is 100, or it's 10 groups of 10. If I count by 10 times, so skip counting by 10 times, I will get to a value of 100. So now that we've refreshed our memory on how to use base 10 blocks and how we draw them pictorially and what their values represent, let's talk about some academic vocabulary that we're going to use throughout the lesson today and that you'll need to be able to use when you're communicating your mathematical ideas with either teachers or with your peers. So let's take a look at our first word. And our first word is subtract. I'm wondering if you know what that word means. Sometimes we know that a picture can help us with that. So let's go ahead and look at our picture. And what I see here is 29 minus 11 is the same as 18. So in this minus sign is actually highlighted red. So what definition could we generate for the word subtract? I think that we can define this as when we separate one or more quantities from another. So for example, if you have a bag of candy at home and you remove some candy from the bag, you have actually separated one or more candies from that bag. So you're actually subtracting that quantity from what that bag originally held. So let's move on to our next word, and that next word is difference. Difference is an interesting word. So we know that when we are subtracting, that our quantity here is going to get smaller, but I'm wondering what this word difference is. So let's take a look at the picture, and I have 76, and 76 minus 14 is the same as 62, or some people will read this as 14 from 76 is the same as 62, and that arrow is pointed to 62. So thinking about that definition before we read it could be that it's the quantity that's left over when I subtract something from there. So let's see what our definition is for this. So difference is the remaining amount when subtracting one or more parts. So remember that bag of candy that we were talking about. If you've removed some candy, you've subtracted it from the bag, what's remaining in the bag is the difference. Let's finish up our review by taking a look at an example. So I can see here that I want to take 21 from 46 and figure out what that's going to be the same as. So I know that I am starting with the 46, and I'm going to decompose this really quickly to help me draw and represent using my pictorial models. So 46 decomposes into 40 and 6. And I can represent the 40 and the 6 using my place value chart. So I have a value of 40, and then I have 6 ones. And what do I want to take away from my starting quantity? I want to take away 21. So let's decompose the 21, and I can see that this is a value of 20 and 1. And if I represent 20 and 1, this is going to be 2 longs and 1 unit. And I'm referencing back to our place value chart. So I want to take these away. One of the common mistakes that we see you guys make is that you'll try to draw this 21 underneath. We only need to draw both and represent both numbers when we're joining that quantity together. When it comes to subtracting and trying to find a difference, we only need to represent the 46. And now what we'll do is we'll remove the 21 from the 46. So what we're going to do is we are going to take and remove the 21. So here we go. I know I need to remove 2 10s and a 1. So I'm going to remove 1 unit, which I have now removed that. And I need to also remove what? I need to remove 2 groups of 10. So now we're going to pull down what we have left. And so I know that I have 5 units, and I have 2 longs, which represents my 10s. And now we can compose our number again. So 2 longs, I can count by 10s, 10, 20. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, or 5 groups of 1. And when I join 20 and 5, and I join those together, my difference is 25. So I now know that when I subtract 21 from 46, I have a difference of 25. Let's get ready to move into our Let's Learn portion. As we move into our Let's Learn section, boys and girls, I need you to do a few things. The first thing I need you to do is I need you to go ahead and draw your hundreds chart on your piece of paper, because we're going to be using this place value chart throughout the day. And as you can see, I've got a big place value chart here that we're going to use with our base 10 blocks. So remember, during our Let's Learn section, we're going to work on subtracting numbers to find a difference using base 10 blocks, using an open number line, using place value, and then we're going to be able to explain what we're doing using some of that academic vocabulary from earlier this morning. So we've got some tools laid out. The first one is that we've got our flats that represent our hundreds. We've got our longs, which will represent our groups of 10. And we've got some units here to represent our ones. And then you guys can see I've got a few digit cards here. And I also have the number sentence that we're going to be working with today. And from our number sentence, we can see that we have 100 minus 27 is the same as an unknown difference, or we can read this as 27 from 104 is the same as an unknown difference. So let's begin by building our 104 in our place value table. So we're going to go ahead and use our blocks. I have one group of 100. I can see in the tens position here that I don't have any units. or longs that I need. And then in the ones position, I need 4 of my units. So I now have represented 104. And what we want to do is we want to take 27 away. And this is where our digit cards come into play, because remember, we don't want to build the 27 and take it away, because we would actually start with a quantity larger than 104. So we know in the number 27 that we have 2 10s and 7 1s, and we're going to place these here. So now let's start talking through this process of being able to remove a quantity of 27, or we're taking 27 from the 104. So I can see that in my ones position, I actually need 7 groups of 1, but I only have 4. So I know that as I move my place value positions to the left, that in my tens place value, if there was a rod there, I would be able to regroup and explode that 10 into 10 units. But I don't have value there, so this is going to begin where we have to talk about this flat. And we know that to compose a flat, that we would take 10 groups of 10 to compose the flat, but we can also exchange and say that we can remove, or we can exchange one flat for 10 groups of 10, and those 10 groups of 10 would go here. So now I see that I have enough value to be able to take away 2 groups of 10, but I'm still facing the same situation where we don't have enough value to take away 7 groups of 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing with this long, and we're going to exchange that long for our 10 units, and we can double check and verify that 10 units is the same as a long, and this will allow us to make our exchange. So here we can see that the 10 units is the same as a long, so let's go ahead and make that exchange. And now I have 14 units in the tens place, and let's see if we still have 104. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 92, 94, 96, 98, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. So my value didn't change, but the way that it is built and composed is different now. I still have 104. So let's go ahead and pull or remove the 27. So we're just going to go ahead and put these 7 units on our 7. There's 5, 6, 7, and we can remove those. And then I need to take 2 longs and put those here, and we will remove those as well. So I've removed the 27 to the side. So what does that leave me with? It leaves me with 7 groups of 1, and I can see 2, 4, 6, 7 groups of 10. 7 groups of 10 has the same value as 70. And my 7 ones has a value of 7. And if I compose those two values together or join them, I have 77. So that's one way that we can solve 104 minus 27 using base 10 blocks. But we can also solve 104 minus 27 using our place value table. So go ahead and grab your pencil, and you guys work through this with me. So what did we do first? We knew that we had 104, and we needed to take away what? We need to take away 27. So what did we do? We said that we were going to take this 100 and we were going to regroup it into 10 groups of 10. And then we were going to take one of those groups of 10 and we're going to decompose this, and we're going to create, and when we decompose it, it's giving us 10 units. So now, can I take the 27 away? I can. Let's remove the 20. So remember, we're taking 104 and we're subtracting 27. And what did we do? We took the 100 and we made this a group of 10 groups of 10, which had a value of 100. We regrouped this again and we made this 14. And this now represents our pictorial model. 7 from 14 is 7, and 2 groups of 10 from 9 groups of 10 is 7 groups of 10, and we're at 77. So let's try this a different way, because sometimes when we start to deal with these values, we are having a hard time with the regrouping because it's a lot of movement going on when we try to solve it that way. So another way that we can solve this is we can decompose 104 into its place value. So we can say that we have 100 plus no tens plus 4, and we're going to subtract 27. And if we decompose 27, that's 20 and 7. So now let's see if we can understand what's happening with our values. So I see that, once again, I don't have enough ones to be able to take 7 away at this point. So we're going to look in the tens position where I don't have any values. So we're going to go to the hundreds. I know that 10 groups of 10 is the same as 100. So I can regroup those here. Now I can regroup this, and if I take a group of 10 away, that leaves me 9 groups of 10, or 90, and then I can regroup those units that I decomposed, and I will have 14. So now we're going to subtract, and we're going to say that we have 90 minus 20, which is the same as 70, and 14 minus 7 is the same as 7. And when we join 70 and 7, we are at a difference of 77. So the last thing we need to do as we look at this is, how do we subtract using our open number line? So we're going to go ahead and draw our number line here. And we are going to be able to start at 104. So remember, boys and girls, that when I see this 27, 104 is where I'm starting on my number line, and we are subtracting the 27. And once again, I'm going to decompose 27, and I know that this is 20 and 7, but I like to subtract and count backwards by tens. So I'm at 104, and I don't really like counting across those zeros too well, but I know that if I subtract 4, I will be at 100 if I subtract this 4. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 4 from the 7 and use that, and that will leave me 3 more still to use. So that 100 minus 4 is 100. I'm going to go back 2 jumps of 10. So if I take those 2 jumps of 10, and then I'm going to take my minus 1, which is 3 jumps of minus 1. So 100, if I take 10 from 100, I'm at 90. If I take another 10 from 90, I'm at 80. And then if I count backwards, I'm at 80. 1 jump is 79. Another jump of minus 1 is 78. And another jump of 1 is 77. So I've been able to verify in 4 different ways what the difference is of 27 from 104. Let's take a look at our next example. We're going to take 56 from 132 to find an unknown difference. So once again, we're going to start by building this with base 10 blocks. So I know that I have a 1 in the hundreds place, represented there. I know I have 3 in the tens place, so I'll represent that with 3 longs. And I have 2 in the ones place, so we'll represent that with our 2 units. And we're going to take away 56. And how we take away 56 is we're actually just going to place these in the tens and in the ones position. So let's look at our value, and do we see that we have enough value to take 6 from 2 at this point? And we don't. So we know that we can go into the tens position and we can exchange 1 long for 10 units. So we're going to explode that 1 long into 10 units, and I can see those here. So now I know that I have 12 ones, and so I can double check my value. This is 120, 130, 132, so I'm still taking 56 from 132. So I have enough units or enough value in the ones place to go ahead and subtract, but I don't have enough value in the tens place to be able to subtract. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do what, boys and girls? We're going to exchange that flat for 10 groups of 10. So once again, let's get bring up our 10 longs. So I'm at 10 longs, and if I put these on top of my flat, I can see that they're exactly the same. So we're going to exchange those 10 longs for this 100 and move them over. So now I have enough value in each place value position to go ahead and take 56 from 132. So let's go ahead and do that. So I need 2, 4, 6, and we'll pull those away. And that leaves me with how many in the ones place? That leaves me with a value of 6 in the ones place. And then I need to remove or take from what I have here 5 longs. So 2, 4, and 5. And when I pull those away, this is what I'm left with. So let's go ahead and count our value. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So I have 70 in my tens position, and 70 and 6 is the same as 76. So when I take 56 from 132, I actually have 76 remaining. That's my difference, 76. So the last way we're going to look at this today is in a different way, because sometimes kids tell me, hey, sometimes I really don't like to subtract. Well, we do have a strategy where we can add to subtract. So remember, we've got 132 minus 56. So I know that I'm looking for the difference between those 2 points. So if I draw my number line, and I know that my largest point on the number line is 132, and I want to remove 56, I'm trying to find the difference between these 2 values. So what we can do is we can do an adding on strategy to get from 56 to 132 to find the difference. So let's do that. Let me grab another color. So here's what we do. I'm a big fan, and I know most of you are, of friendly numbers. I love when I can get to a 10. So if I'm at 56, I know that if I make a jump of 4, that's going to get me to 60. So 56 and 4 is the same as 60. And then I've got to get all the way to 132. So here's my problem. I'm at 60, but I know that if I make a big jump of 40, that 60 and 40 is 100. And if I make another big jump, I need to get to 130 at least. That if I make another big jump of 30, then I'm at 130. And then I know a jump of 2, because I like 2s, a jump of 2 will get me to 132. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mentally work with 40 and 30 and 4 and 2. Well, I know that 40 and 30 is the same as 70. And I also know that 4 and 2 is the same as 6. So if I join these numbers together, my sums, 70 and 6 is the same as 76. So 132 minus 56 gives me a difference of 76. All right, boys and girls, we have done a lot of work today. We've reviewed our place value concrete models. We've reviewed how to draw them pictorially and their representations. We've talked about academic vocabulary, and we've subtracted numbers with using regrouping with base 10 blocks, pictorial models, and number lines. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions about today's lesson, please feel free to reach out to your classroom teachers. And parents, if you need additional resources, please visit our Houston ISD at Home webpage. Once again, my name is Tracy Fox. Have an amazing math day.